Hi, it's Lethea from Farm View Creators. Today we're going to work on the new Cottage Window Box kit from the Rust Covered Cottage by Christina. This is a rounded top and it has more windows than the other window box. I'm going to use several Sweet Pickins products on this one. First, I'm going to glue these 4 pieces together and I'm going to make sure that I have them lined up perfectly and clamp them together and set them aside to dry for a little bit. The art glitter glue that I'm using, it sets up fairly quickly, but it also gives you some wiggle room. Then those 2 long rods, you're going to stack 2 and 2 and do 2 sets of those, making sure that they are lined up perfectly. None of those pieces need to be stained or painted or anything. That last piece that I'm adding to that stack of 4 has the cutout where the insert is going to slide together, and we're going to put that on the backboard where it says attached to A. I'm going to use a staining pad and rich mahogany glaze from Couture. I'm going to start on the back side because I haven't used this glaze before and I wanted to make sure I really liked it before I used it on the front. It was a little bit more red than I was expecting. I don't know why, because I know mahogany is pretty red. So I went on top of it with black walnut glaze from Couture, and then I did not put any more of the mahogany on my sponge. It had remnants, so you'll see a little bit of red, which is what I was going after on each of those pieces. And I am going to give them all a good layer with my staining sponge. I let it dry, and then I went back in and did another layer of just the black walnut. Again, still using that same sponge, so it does have a little bit of that rich mahogany on it. Once that was totally dry, I went in with my Beeswax Bar and added wax around any place that I wanted to resist the paint. I did layer those 2 up so that I could really see where I was putting that wax on the top piece. And then I'm going in and putting a layer of Extra Bond from Sweet Pickins over the whole thing, even on top of the wax, because it's hard to tell where you put the wax. Just giving that a good coat, and then I'm going to let that dry. I just used up the remnants there. The Extra Bond is a paint additive that is used to help milk paint adhere to surfaces that it might not easily adhere to. I put that front plate that I had stained on that stack of 5 to make that 6 layers thick now. I'm going to mix up my milk paint. I am using the shade Flour Sack from Sweet Pickins. I'm using my little whisk to get that nice and mixed up, and then I'm going to set it aside for a little while and let the Extra Bond dry, let the milk paint set up a little bit before I go in. It was still a little bit thinner than I like, but it worked, just put more layers on it. So I put 2 layers and dried in between. The Extra Bond on with the milk paint, it makes it crackle just beautifully. Still unpredictably, but it pretty much guarantees that you're going to have crackle. I, in the past, have had trouble getting my milk paint to crackle the way I wanted to. Since I've started using Extra Bond, no problems. Love it. It's gorgeous. And honestly, I love using milk paint with Extra Bond because I just adore watching it crackle as you dry it. You do want to force dry it. That's how you get your crackle. I've also found that if you get it good and hot and crackly, and then you move to another piece and let it cool off and then come back, it's going to crackle even more. So you'll see me kind of going back and forth between the pieces to get that crackle. And once you have it dry, you can add as many coats as you want. Just make sure that you force dry it in between. So I put a 3rd coat on the little scallop strips. That's the piece that's going to hold the front plate of your inserts, just because I wanted it to be very vibrant. Now that backboard I didn't care about because it's mostly going to be covered up. Now I'm going in with my Gator sander and just lightly, and I mean lightly, sanding off the parts that were resisted because of the wax. I just was using my dryer mainly to blow away some of the dust. And then I'm using my weeding tool just to clean out the corners of the windows where there was a little bit of buildup. And again, I could have kept on sanding and taken off more, but it's just when you get to where you want it to be or where you like it, then you can stop, you know, however much you want or as little as you want. I'm going to layer those 2 pieces of the frame, and I'm clamping the edges and I'm going to set it aside for just a minute. And I'm going to use Sweet Pickins dark oil wax on the scallop pieces, and where I was using my finger to put more of it was where I'd kind of sanded away some of that stain, and I wanted to darken it up a little bit. So you'll see I do the same thing on this piece, and I'm holding that center because it was bowing a little bit. The high heat that you use to get that milk paint to crackle causes the wood to dry out a little and it might bow. So I was just pressing that down. I let it sit for maybe 10-15 minutes, and then I came back in with my mostly dry wipe and just wiped it back. Now I'm going to tell you, on these little scallop pieces, this is where you want to be your most meticulous. You want those straight pieces at the very top flat edge, because this is where that front plate's going to slide in, and if you have it down too far, your front plates are not going to want to slide in. I've done 4 of these now, and my first one I wasn't quite as careful with that part, and it is very hard to get that front plate in and out. So make sure you're at that top edge when you put those scallop pieces together. And again, when you put it on the actual window frame, make sure you're getting it lined up with the bottom and the top, and your scallops are pointing inward, because that's the part that is holding your front plate in place. And there you have it. I love how it turned out. I think it's beautiful. That worn, distressed look was what I was after. Here it is with my Sweet Summer insert. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.